order and the chaos. The men and women of the Hall of Justice.
She has control of everything. Levels 1 to 200.
This is Mama. Somewhere in this block are 2 judges.
That's not good.
I want him dead.
We're gonna have to go through him. Rookie, you ready?
Yeah.
You look ready.
Hi, I'm Nat. He's Matt. We've got your geek news right here, and today we're reviewing Dredd 3D.
Wow. What a Judge Dredd movie. We're going to look at this thing as just a movie in its own right, as well as looking at it as a Judge Dredd movie, because there's been one of these before, unfortunately, and we're going to look at it as an adaptation of a very long-running, amazing British comic on 2000 AD, as well as the Judge Dredd standalone magazine. Right. But first up, let's talk about the fact that people have been saying, oh man, this movie's just like Raid Redemption. Maybe you've heard of this movie, maybe you haven't. It's an Indonesian action flick from the people who made Marantau, which actually stars Mads Kudal from 6 Reasons Why, strangely enough. Yeah.
Hilarious.
Yeah, so there's a connection there. But Raid Redemption was a film that was about a SWAT team that goes into a building, a high-rise that's run by a drug dealer, and basically the drug dealer says, kill them all, and they're locked in, and it's not a sanctioned op, so people wind up dying left, right, and center, and they can't call for backup.
This trailer sounds familiar to me, actually.
Yeah, it's very similar. However, Dredd was written first, shot first, and went into post-production first, well before Raid Redemption was shot. Raid Redemption was shot in like a couple of weeks and cost, £1 million to make it, but rest assured, Dredd came first and is not copying it, so let's get that off the table. And let's just talk about Dredd, because it is an incredible movie, top to bottom, exactly what it ought to be. So Matt, what do you think? Actors?
Yeah, I was going to say, so as a movie, you liked it as a movie then? Like, starting with the actors, like, you thought they were great?
Yeah, they were fantastic. I mean, I thought Karl Urban had a good scowl. Every now and again, it got a little bit comical. Like, he was scowling a bit too far, and I think when he's 80, you'll see some lines on his face from that role.
I've got to say, considering his face was half covered for the entire movie, he did a pretty decent job. I've read some reviews out there where people are like, oh, Karl, non-acting, horrible. You know what? How much can you really do with half your face covered? Having said that, he did more than just show rage, so I thought that was pretty good.
Yeah, he was perfect. He was occasionally comedic. I couldn't believe what a great job Karl did with his face mostly covered. And the first thing he does in the movie is put on the mask. And you don't see his face, because we'll get to the comics later, but we have never seen Judge Dredd's face in the comics as a man, which is brilliant. But yeah, he was great. I thought Hetty from
Game of Thrones, who plays Cersei Lannister, terrifying as that character in Game of Thrones, and equally terrifying, although potentially the same character in Judge Dredd. Or in Dredd.
Yeah, I mean, she's also in Sarah Connor Chronicles. She plays Sarah Connor. But, I never found that nearly as interesting as the villains that she can play. And I thought she was a great, nasty piece of work in this. I thought she was wonderful. And I love that she was ugly. That was so great, because that really made her character that much more fun. I really enjoyed her.
Absolutely. She did a great job as Mama. And then this new girl, Olivia Thirlby, I believe is her name. So she plays the rookie Anderson. Yeah. I personally have never seen her before, but I thought she did a great job. She was completely likable, and I guess she's the character that you as the viewer are supposed to enjoy and experience the story through, because she's going through everything for the first time, just as you are as the viewer, right?
It was a great structure to allow us to get into this world, find out more about the judge system and the Hall of Justice and how all of this stuff works, because we had a character to explain it to. She was the Neo. She was the Ellen Page character in Inception, the one who needed to have it explained to. Yeah. And she was wonderful for that, and she had all the character growth. I mean, there's a little bit for Judge, a little bit for Dredd, but for the most part, it was her growth. And I enjoyed her very much. I enjoyed the mutant angle, because that's part of the Judge Dredd universe as well, which is cool. But yeah, I thought all the actors across the board were great. They all did a great job, and none of the bit players took me out of the film. Like, it was well cast. I really enjoyed the actors.
Totally. I've got to say, in terms of the visuals, every time we saw a scene with slow-mo, that was fantastic. Personally, I thought it looked really cool. I loved seeing that whole starry, diamondy kind of experience. I can see why someone would potentially take slow-mo. Just because Yeah, that seemed pretty awesome.
It was pretty great. I mean, they did some serious work up for the cinematographer and director, actually, on the previous movie they did, spent some time playing with a bunch of effects and put together something that was a really great effect. They ramped that up with some high frame rate red cameras to get that frame rate. And it was gorgeous, looked wonderful in 3D. I just thought that slow-mo thing was great.
I can't believe the whole movie took place in Peachtree, though, that one apartment.
Well, I mean, the idea in Judge Dredd is that you could live and die in your mega block. And so I really like that. The day in the life approach, I thought, was a really neat way of establishing what a judge's job is. And the idea that, a rookie may not survive, I thought was a great idea.
Right. So here's
great
the thing.
Establishment.
Well, exactly. What I was going to say, though, I guess to wrap that whole idea up, as a movie, I thought all those little story elements were really interesting. But in this respect, based on what you're saying, the movie was clearly made for fans, which is awesome, except as someone who was not familiar with all the source material, I thought the movie, it was a little two-dimensional. I wish you got a little more of an explanation about Karl Urban or Dredd, why he is the way he is, why that society is the way it is. Yeah, the whole idea you could live and die in a block. Yeah, I didn't really realize that. All those little things where it makes the world so fascinating. I felt like it lacked in the movie. But I guess it's assuming you knew all that.
Well, when it opens and when it closes, Karl Urban manages to beautifully deliver the idea of what Megacity 1 is all about. That everything outside of this megacity is scorched earth. There are other megacities out there, but you would never really go from one to the other unless you're a judge.
Okay.
So the idea that, this world is being established, all you need to know is this, we're going to tell you a story in this world now. I thought that was beautiful. I thought the world was very well explained in that respect.
Right.
That leaves future movies to explore the world. I think the biggest mistake, now let's get into adaptation a little bit, and we'll talk a bit about Judge Dredd from 1995. A bit of the problem with that movie was that they went too much, too far, too fast. And, of course, they took Judge Dredd's mask off. So this, I enjoyed the fact that we learned about Megacity 1. We stayed inside Megacity 1, and thank God we stayed inside one block even, just to understand what these people are living in. Because this is a world where so much crime happens, because we have taken the problems of a city and compounded it 1,000,000 times. It's incredible what a megacity breeds.
Oh yeah, the future seemed terrifying. It seemed absolutely terrifying.
Yeah. So, the biggest problem with Judge Dredd, the first movie, was that they went into the Rico Judge Dredd storyline before you care who Judge Dredd is. And the idea is that they are clones of another judge. And so, yeah, the Judge Dredd is a clone of one of the greatest judges ever, and his brother is just another clone of that same greatest judge ever. Rico is his name, so it's Dredd and Rico. And so, Joe is his name. It's Joe Dredd and Rico Dredd. Are their names. So Dredd actually has a clone of his own later on, because he's such an amazing judge that they want more of him. But it's an amazing world. And the cool thing about the world is that time affects this world in a very neat way. Batman has been a 40-year-old guy pretty much all the time. Spider-Man has been an 18-year-old kid in college for the entire run of Spider-Man. But Judge Dredd was introduced in 1977, and he has been aging 1 year per year. And so, as a result, when you read a Judge Dredd comic now, he's a 75-year-old man taking drugs to stay on the streets. And people are talking about how he's slower than he used to be. He's not as fast as he used to be. And a lot of stuff has happened to him, and that continuity continues. And I think that's a brilliant part of this comic. And so, I mean, I've been reading 2000 AD since I was 9, and it's a great comic. And there are great villains in his storyline.
Well, I was going to say, so, I found the whole character of Madeline Madrigal, a.k.a. Mama, really interesting. And when you and I were discussing this, you're like, well, she doesn't really exist in the whole, canon universe of Dredd. So, quickly looked it up, and it sounds like that the filmmakers created this prologue comic to come out and explain the shocking secret history of Mama before you watch the movie. Having read this little mini prologue comic, nothing new is really revealed in the comic other than how she comes across slow-mo. But other than that, you get the whole flash in the movie itself. So if you didn't read it, you didn't really miss out.
Yeah, I mean, and it's always a mistake to make a comic book that explains too much. I mean, that really made Tron go wrong Tron Legacy by having too much explained in another film, so in another medium. So it was nice that this was very much a self-contained, enjoy this movie, find out who Dredd is, because if this movie makes enough money, they'll wind up we'll get Rico, we'll get the storyline of what happens there, we'll get Judge Death, we'll get the Psy Cops or the Psy Judges. There's a lot of other really cool ones to go with, but, I think it was a little bit unneeded to make up a villain.
Yeah, I wonder why they decided
worked.
to do that, but...
Yeah.
Did you like her as a villain, though? You thought that she was good?
Yeah, I mean, she did the job. She fit in with the world. She helped establish the world in a very neat way.
Her death ended up
having
being
a character like
unnecessarily comical, in my opinion.
Who did?
Her death at the end, it was unnecessarily comical.
I thought it was beautiful the way they did the slow motion going through the layers on the way down. It was a very nice decompression for the audience.
It was poetic.
To remember everything that happened all the way up, and then the way she landed, I just thought was lovely. I thought that was very. I thought it was a beautiful piece of film.
Yeah, the audience that I was
in, the blood.
They just laughed while she was
really
falling. Yeah, which is why to me, the experience was very comical.
Interesting. See, my audience didn't laugh. My audience was silent through that in this sort of graceful moment. And film being a social medium, it'll be whatever your audience does. But yeah, it wasn't comical in my read of it. My read of it was that it was just a beautiful, graceful decompression of the movie, because the next thing that happens is the judges walk out. It was a nice bookend, I thought. I enjoyed it a lot, and I think the slow-mo was a great little trick to make speed ramping, which, people like Zack Snyder have made really popular since 300. But it made a reason to make speed ramping and slow motion and gratuitous violence happen for a reason other than we want to show this to you. It was that's how these guys are experiencing
violence.
it.
I can only assume that it's true to the comics to be that gratuitously violent.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
Although there was a really brilliant part where they played with a lot of the blood that you saw was CG blood. And there was a point where, if you look carefully, beyond the letterboxing of the film, there was a shot where the blood poured past it, so that the 3D was even more 3D. And I thought that was absolutely brilliant. They really pushed the 3D envelope in ways that I hadn't seen a film do before.
Oh, that's kind of cool.
So that was fun. Yeah, I was taken out of the movie by it, because I make them, so every now and again
you were
I
like,
am
oh
taken
my
out of the
gosh,
movie by looking at it. Yeah, I'm like, that's an idea.
Exactly.
Next time I shoot something in 3D, I'm doing that. But the violence was very true to the when I was a kid. I remember reading them and thinking, this is a visceral, real comic. I mean, the fact that the character was aging made it feel more visceral and real. And so, the fact that Dredd in this film had very little personal growth. All the growth was handed over to Anderson.
Right.
I thought that was great, because they tried to give him too much growth in the 1995 film, and Dredd doesn't grow like that, not that quickly. And plus, you would ruin the idea that this character is something unmovable.
Right.
And so when he is moved later, it's a much more important thing.
Right.
The other thing that I found interesting was that it really sets up him as a character who just goes through a day like this, and it's not a big deal to him. So that means when we see the next stories with Rico, where he has to kill his brother, or Judge Death, where people come from another dimension, we'd get to see really cool story. But unfortunately, this film has only made about $10 million in a week. And this movie needs to make at least 50 for us to expect a sequel. I mean, this was a $40 million production shot in South Africa. And so if they're going to actually make another one, we need to support it, and we need to make sure that this movie does well enough. Because I'd love to see another one of these by these people. I thought I.M. did a great job. I really, really enjoyed this movie, and I'd love to see more.
I'm indifferent about whether there's another one personally, but I did enjoy the experience, so...
But it's Karl Urban. You love Karl Urban.
I do love Karl Urban, but I'm indifferent about this movie. It didn't change my life in any way. I wasn't like, holy crap, it broke the boundaries with the special effects or the storyline or anything like that. So it was a good movie.
Fair point.
It was entertaining.
Yeah.
Considering I'm not a huge Dredd fan, it did nothing for me. Other than, wow, that was a cool action flick.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, for me, it was great to see the Judge Dredd I read the comics of come to life, especially after that piece of crap Stallone movie. So that made a big difference for me. But, I'd love to see more of these. It felt like a classic 80s action film, but done in a way that was modern, which was fun. You don't see an 80s style film like
No,
that
you
very
don't.
often,
You
where
don't.
all we're gonna do is have a bad guy. We're gonna kill that bad guy, and it's gonna take 90 minutes to do it. Go. You know, there were no surprises. Well, for me, there were no surprises because I know there are dirty judges in this world, so it wasn't a surprise
Right.
when judges showed up and they were on the take. But, you know, I guess that was supposed to be a twist, and it was nice to see Dredd take them out the way he did.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it was just great. I mean, I'm totally satisfied. As a film goer, as a Judge Dredd fan, and as a filmmaker, I enjoyed the hell out of this.
Sweet.
All right, well, that's that, I guess. The next films we've got to talk about, we've got Skyfall coming up pretty soon. That's one that I've been excited about since, MGM started going under. Like, that's been way overdue. So I'm looking forward to that one. Anything you're looking forward to, Nat?
Not off the top of my head, no.
Cool. Well, guys, if there's anything you can think of, leave it in the comments below. Let us know what you'd like to see us review or preview. We didn't get around to a preview of Dredd. I was on the road, unfortunately, like I am now. But with luck, after my short film premieres in Toronto, I'll be able to get back to, you know, a little bit more of this sort of critiquing movies that I want to go see instead of ones I want to make. So we'll do our best to get some more stuff up for you, and we appreciate everything you guys do to watch and enjoy.
Absolutely. So, yeah, like Matt said, thanks again for everything. Let us know what you think about the movie and the review below, and bring it on. Let us know what other films you want us to talk about. Oh, I take that back. The Hobbit. Saw a trailer for The Hobbit. It looks amazing.
Oh, yes! Part 1 of 3 now, because, of course, this prequel needs not 1, not 2, but 3 movies, Peter Jackson. Okay. All right. I won't complain. More movie.
Oh, my gosh.
Cool. So, yeah, we'll do Skyfall, we'll do Hobbit, and we'll do whatever else you guys really, really vehemently believe we should do.
Awesome. Okay, thanks.
Mama's not the law. I'm the law. Negotiations over. The sentence is death.